welcome back to another segment of Real Estate Unlocked. And this time we're talking about what are 6 things buyers need to know, especially if you're looking into an ITIN program. And what an ITIN program is, let's talk about foreign buyers, people who are not citizens, residents, but are still wanting to invest in the real estate market, which is the smartest thing they can do because they're trying to lay roots. So we're going to tell you what are things you need to know about how the program works and everything about the ITIN program. All right, so let's get into it. Is there a difference, Olga, with an ITIN loan versus an FHA or conventional loan?
Well, not really, because you actually need exactly the same thing. Most of the banks gonna ask you for 2 years of taxes. They're gonna ask you for bank statements. They're gonna ask you for your ITIN or an ID, whatever you have. And the banks are very, very welcome any person that is not citizen to come over and get the opportunity to buy their home.
Yeah, so ITINs are really ideally made for people who are working here and want to establish roots and buy a home. So it's a great program, and there are several banks that offer them. Now, there is a slight difference between FHA and ITIN. FHA is for people who are considered citizens or residents, right? Have a green card. And an ITIN loan would be for somebody who doesn't necessarily have that. They have an ITIN for tax purposes only. Now, like Olga was saying, the process is still the same. They're still going to need income. They're going to still need maybe some credit. It helps. One of the nice things I notice with our lenders is ITIN loans are not credit driven, right? They help. They help. The more credit you have on an ITIN, the better loan type you can get, right? And in the ITIN, sometimes it's less down payment, but it's not required. So there's a little bit of flexibility. And the biggest thing is, ITIN's down payment. So Olga, being that you work a market of a lot of ITINs, Hispanics, people from other countries, what is the typical down payment you see with ITINs right now?
With the ITINs, typically is 5 to 10%. Which compared to FHA is 3.5, or sometimes it's a little bit more with conventional, but there is nothing crazy. Most of the banks are really flexible, and mostly they go with 5, 10% down depending on the property that you're buying.
Yeah,
Also,
that's very important. Like we're going to mention that. So talk about the property you're buying, because ITIN banks do look at, is it a house? Is it a trailer with land or manufactured home with land? So they do charge more of a down payment when it is a manufactured home or if it's land.
Yes. And also a very important thing is about the interest rate.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I have an ITIN, my interest rate is going to be higher compared to like if I don't have an ITIN. And pretty much based on your credit is the interest rates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So exactly right. Like she was saying, ITIN is not what we call the traditional loan, right? It's not a conventional or an FHA with a lower interest rate. So you will pay slightly higher interest rate. But here's my point is that right now, we go back to what we talk about if you're renting. If you're in an apartment complex right now, if you're renting a house, a duplex, whatever, right now you're paying 100% interest. Listen to me. 100% of what you're paying goes to nothing. You build no equity. You're basically throwing in the trash. But when you buy, even though you might have an interest rate slightly higher than what's considered market because it's an ITIN loan, you're still investing. You're still building equity. There's still an opportunity for you. So I will say that I will tell people down payment in ITIN is a little bit more important than FHA. FHA, you can maybe get away with 0 down programs. You can get away with 3.5%. Typically, what I see is ITINs start at about 10% down. But again, there's all kinds of programs, and guess what? They're always changing, right?
How does ITIN compare to owner finance?
That is a very good question. A lot of times with the owner finance, you get the property from the investors, and many times they don't ask for many requirements, especially for the credit. They usually ask for a low down payment, 5%. They're very flexible. And then again, what they're asking for is either the taxes, the last pay stuff. They don't focus too much on your credit.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely the interests are always higher.
Yes.
What the interest between 8 to 11%. I know it's higher, but then again, you have to take notes that they don't ask for credit, they don't ask for many documents. That is much easier. And then again, in 1 to 5 years, you can refinance with the bank. We have many options with the banks, and that's helpful. It's not that you stay with them forever for 20, 30 years. You can refinance with them in 6 months, for a year or so.
That's a great point you brought out, that this is a loan that you need right now, right? And your circumstances can change down the road, and then you can maybe refinance with a more traditional or lower interest rate. I've also seen ITIN loans at one time were 6%, right? So that too can change, and you can always refinance. But owner finance and ITIN are very similar because it's the same type of buyer, right? It's somebody who maybe can't go through a traditional bank, an FHA bank, a big bank, right? So it works. What I love about getting approved for an ITIN loan versus owner finance is inventory. By having that piece of paper, it opens the door to thousands of homes. As everybody knows, we are kind of top at owner finance. We've been doing this for a long, long time. We're known in the owner finance community, and that's great. But I'm very limited to the inventory I'm limited to, right? I can only sell you this that's owner finance. When you get approved, even with an ITIN loan, it opens the door to more houses. You can go new homes, you can go resale homes, you can go get a rancho, you can go. So it does not limit us to just one area or what's available, right? So I think that's one of the nice things about ITIN loans. A little bit more work, but again, the interest rate is based on risk. And people need to understand that. I hear this all the time. Oh, the interest rate's too high.
Yes.
But who's taking the risk, right? You're not able to prove as much like when you have a social. So the bank or the investor is taking a risk on you.
Yes.
Thus, it's based on that is your interest rate.
Yes. And definitely, you know why? One of the things that investors is like, we are willing to lend to everybody because we think it's fair for everybody to own a home. However, as long as you're a resident, now there is two different things. Being a resident of Texas, I mean, it's like if you live in Texas for 2 years, you consider to be a resident because you're paying taxes here in Texas, right? To be a legal resident with immigration. That's two different things that a lot of people don't know. And they're like, well, I live here for 10 years, I pay taxes, and I've been doing everything. I work here, I have my own company, but I'm a resident of United States. That's different, but you're still a resident of Texas, and therefore the owner finance is a really good deal for you to go.
So let's talk real quick about this. I know immigration is a hot topic. I know it's a hot button. I know a lot of people who are watching and our clientele are dealing with that. And believe me, we feel it, we see it, and we understand. But here's the deal. You're going to need to buy something, right? You're going to need to invest. You can continue to rent and throw your money away. But I know that people want to invest. So again, our topic is ITIN and why it's a good option to buyers. I think you have to look at it. It allows you to open the door. It allows you to get in. It doesn't have to be necessarily a long-term solution to your problems. It's a short-term, and hopefully with things changing, that can change. Again, refinance. Even like our traditional buyers. I tell our traditional buyers, look, interest rates are a little bit higher than they were a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You can always refinance too, right? You're getting in the door. One of the things that I get a lot of, if I get an ITIN loan, does the rate change?
No. The rate will always be the same. And a lot of people is like, well, what about if I put more money to the principal?
Yeah.
Let's say the house is $200,000, right? And it's like, what about if I make extra money and I just pay it in 5 years? And I say, that is super good for you because even the loan is for 20 or 30 years. You don't have to keep that loan for that loan. You can always put more to the principal, pay it in 5 years, and you don't have to pay interest for that loan.
Yeah, that's so true. With a community that is typically immigrant community, they don't like debt, they don't like interest, right?
A lot of them.
They want to pay it off. And so what I tell people is most ITIN loans will not have a prepayment penalty. There will be no adjustment of the rate. But Olga, my payment's going to go up. My friend told me his payment went up. When a payment goes up, let's talk about this. I had this question asked the other day. Is my interest rate fixed? I said, yes. But you said my payment can adjust. What is it that's going to adjust? What is going to change in somebody's monthly payment?
The only thing that I can change is the taxes.
Taxes.
If the taxes go up, we don't have control of that.
That's right.
But the principal and interest will always still the same, means the monthly payments will still the same. However, if the taxes, let's say your house goes up 100,000, then the taxes probably will go up, and that might change the monthly payment. However, that's something that we don't have control of it.
Right.
But
Yeah, there's things you can do to fight taxes, to keep them down, to keep them in control, but we do not have control. That part could always go up. Also, your insurance can change, right? Insurance goes up. Right now, what we're seeing is this year taxes kind of went down for a lot of people, but insurance went up, right? And so, again, for first-time home buyers, that's something they need to be aware of. But guess what? Does your rent go up? Absolutely. They're not taking money away from you. When you sign a renewal, they're not charging you $100 less, right? They're charging you more every single time. So again, I really believe that buying is just a smarter route. Now, if you're an ITIN client, and you've had many of ITIN clients, what are some of the challenges, or what are some of the things that you're seeing out there that they're facing right now?
So the people right now, they're like having a hard time trusting, because they like, oh, well, the situation right now is a little bit hard, it's a little bit goofy, I don't know, what about if something happens to me? For example, many parents, can I do something, can I write a paper to let my son take care of it? Let's say if we have to go back to my country, there is something that I can leave for my kids, some kind of documents. And it's just definitely, in closing, we can do a power attorney.
That's right.
The power attorney, let's say I buy the house and I just write in this document that say my son has the power to either rent, sell this property, just specific for that property. This doesn't mean he has the whole power to do whatever he wants with everything else. We're talking just about that property.
Right, we can limit to that property. And this brings up a really good point. So when I started doing these series, right, and when the changes happen in the current administration and the politics with immigration, I made a video in January of 2025, and I said power of attorney, why it's good, why you need it, right? And I actually got a call shortly after, somebody wanting to sell, and I explained to them, okay, well, your husband is dealing with some immigration issues. We need to get you a power of attorney. She said, oh, no. We have a power of attorney. My husband watched your video, went and got a power of attorney, and now because of that, I have it here. And he told me, if something happens to me, call Jaime. He's going to take care of us. So these videos like that we make really are to educate, right, and tell stories and help people. But a power of attorney right now, if going from buyers to sellers, if you're worried about that, you can have a power of attorney, because you can. You don't automatically lose your house. A lot of people think that if something happens to me, I automatically lose my house, or the government's going to take it away. They can't. They cannot do that. You are protected. You have a vested interest. There is no law that states you are required to be a U.S. citizen to own real estate. Now, let's talk a little bit more about ITINs, and let's get into a subject that maybe a lot of people don't know about and haven't heard of. Let's call FIRPTA, okay? So now if you're a seller and you have an ITIN and you're deciding that you're going to sell your home, there's a rule called FIRPTA. It's a foreign national rule. And what this is the government basically wants to make sure that they get paid from the sale of your home.
Yes.
Now, if we're U.S. citizens and we decide to sell our home, or we're residents and we sell our home, and it's our homestead where we live, there are certain rules that allow us to not have to pay taxes or capital gain income on the sale of the profit we made. But that doesn't apply necessarily automatically to people with ITINs. So can you tell me, or can you help the audience and say, what are some of the rules for FIRPTA, and what does a seller who has an ITIN need to know?
This is very important, because we have a lot of clients Then again, they're residents of Texas, but legally they're not residents or citizens of United States.
Right.
They are selling their property now, and they are thinking, "Oh, I'm selling my property for this much a month." And when they go to title, they be like, "Wait a minute, they didn't tell me they were gonna hold 15% of the taxes." What this mean is that when we go to title, they wanted to make sure the taxes of the property they have been paid off, and once we do the closing, titles they send the documents, want to make sure that the taxes have been paid off. However, after they check and everything is fine, the seller will get the money back, but it's not something they're gonna get right there. So it's very important the seller knows that they're gonna hold some money for taxes.
Yeah. So again, if you are a seller and you're selling a home and you have an ITIN, it's very important that you meet with who first?
With a realtor, of
With an
course.
experienced realtor, right?
Yes,
experienced realtor, somebody who's done this for a long time, who understands this. Believe me, realtors right now are a dime a dozen. Everybody and their mother's a realtor, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they're good at what they do or they understand certain niches, right? There are certain things in this market you have to be an expert at, and this is one of our experts, and this is why I asked Olga to come on. So, Olga, how long have you been working with me?
I've been doing real estate for about 16 years, and I have been working with you for about 10, 12
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah, it's so much fun to work with me. That's why, she's
Yeah,
lasted 12 years.
Yeah, you don't know how much fun it is. Come enjoy the ride. It has been a wild ride.
Yeah, but
then again, keep posting wild
yeah,
rides.
yeah. But
La
the
casa-
reality is that we've worked a very Hispanic market for a long time. That's kind of been your niche too. And we've dealt with these issues, and FERPTA is something that's very difficult. And
Very hard.
our job is to try to educate you to save you money. So there is a rule, it's called the substantial presence rule. Substantial presence rule says that if you've lived in the home 2 out of the last 5 years, that's one way to qualify. Plus, the second way is if you've been a citizen for tax purposes. In other words, have you filed taxes 2 years? Notice it didn't say how much did you file on taxes. It says, did you file taxes for 2 years, and have you lived in your house at least 2 of the last 5 years? If you do that, then you qualify to be considered a citizen in FERPTA for not having to pay taxes or capital gain taxes on the sale of your homestead. And again, when you sit down with an experienced agent, we'll explain this to you and we'll ask you questions. And this is why we have to ask you certain questions a lot of times, because we want to make sure that we guide you and find out everything about it, because the worst thing to do is to show up at closing and you weren't informed, right, you're surprised, and guess what, surprise, we're sending a $20,000 check to IRS.
This is very important for sellers with ITNs especially because they don't know, and you have to get an experienced realtor because it's a lot of work. It gets very deep, and it can be very smooth transaction, or it can be very, very bad transaction. One, because a lot of the clients are like, you know what, I'm gonna sell my home, and now I'm ready to go to buy another house. So they thinking they're gonna get this much money to put
Right.
down in the next house, and surprise, you don't have that much money.
Yeah.
So it's very important to get experienced realtor about FIRTA and about ITINs. And remember, you don't have to be a legal resident in the United States. That's different from being a resident of Texas.
Right. ITIN, it's a great program if it fits your needs, if you fall into that category, but you need to speak with an agent if you're thinking about buying or you're thinking about selling to find out what loan is best for you. And then if you're going to sell, how does it affect you in taxes, and we'll be able to guide you. Now, Olga, she brings the energy to the office and she brings the energy to her clients, and she is a top producing agent who's, like I said, has years of doing this as a bilingual agent, single mom who now her kids are following in her footsteps and they're realtors, right? So Olga, tell us a little bit about how real estate and working with Hispanics, how it's changed you and how it's kind of made you who you are, and what's your drive, what's your passion?
You know, this is very interesting because around 2009, 2010, the market was very low. And most of the Spanish people were like so low, so it's like they didn't know where to go. So I jump in. I start helping a bunch of Spanish community because that's my niche, and I see the big need that people had that do not speak English, and that's when I come from. And I was helping them. Most of these people bought properties around downtown Austin. In
Yeah.
that time, downtown Austin, it was small. Most Spanish community lived very close to downtown. So that helped me to help them buy homes. In those houses in that time, it was like 80,000.
Yeah.
It's a
I
joke.
remember
They were
Yeah,
like
yeah.
60, 80, 100,000.
And guess what? You know what they'd still tell us at the time when we say, look, this house in downtown, it's about 80,000. It's expensive. It's crazy. They're crazy.
They're
80,000.
crazy.
Now that house is worth $1 million. But at the time it was 80,000. It was too expensive.
And guess what? Years passed by, and 4 or 5 years, same people that I helped them. Now I was selling their same home, but I was selling them for like $500,000.
Right.
And helping them to move out to different places. So a lot of people knows me because I've been here for a while.
And what's your passion? What's your why?
My why, there's so many whys, and one thing that my why number one is because when I come to America, the first thing I hear is not what the country can do for you, it's what you can do for the country. And I didn't even speak English, but I was like, that sounds beautiful. So then I was like looking at it, and then I realized that's true. It's not what the country can do for me, it's what can I do the country. And leaving everything behind, I think most of us leave a lot of stuff behind, and we're gonna part of this country, but also we want to contribute to this country. Our kids live here, so now we have to. I just feel that the big need to leave a legacy to our kids.
Right, and that goes back to what we're talking about today, ITIN. People who are from other countries who reside in the U.S., who I understand are scared because of ICE and immigration and all those things, but you need to start planning roots. You came here for a better future. The best thing you can do, proven track record, is buy real estate, right? Mm-hmm. And so I believe that ITIN programs, owner finance programs, investing in real estate is one of the best things you can do as somebody from a different country to establish roots here and live the American dream. I'm Jaime Elizalde, owner of La Casa Realty Group. I was joined by Olga Ugarte with La Casa Realty Group. Hey. And I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe. If you have a comment, leave it below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what questions have come up to you or what things you'd like to know more of with Real Estate Unlocked.
Thank you. Bye.